Hello and welcome to tonight's live stream, Spirituality's Role in Decolonizing Our Relationships. Now, I'm hoping that the software is working. I'm hoping that you can see me in all of the platforms. I'm streaming. Ooh, okay, I'm definitely streaming on YouTube. Let's check out if I am streaming on Facebook. Has the event begun in Facebook? The event has begun in Facebook. That is so exciting. So I am going to assume that means that the event has begun in Instagram as well. That is the main place I was planning on streaming this until I decided, you know what, not everybody has Instagram, and I want to be able to share this with others who might not quite be on Instagram. So therefore, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. And so what I'm going to invite you to do, allegedly this software program allows you to type in comments and then I should be able to see them. They should pop up. So if you have any questions or comments, please, please, please feel free to engage with me. And if I don't end up saying hi or responding or anything like that, please know that that is because the comments thing must not be talking to each other, even though it says it's supposed to. It's over here on the screen. All right. And with that, I also wanted to share with you, I'm super excited. I got this standing desk. It's a sit stand desk. I got it in December as I was transitioning out of my psychotherapy practice, coming in full time into coaching and consulting. And this is the first time I had bought it for situations just like this, where I would be doing trainings and facilitating, standing up. I just feel like the energy is so much more clear and exciting and fun and engaging when I get to stand and use the space in that way. So I plan on being here with you for about half an hour or so, right around 7:30, maybe a touch later, because with tech and stuff, it took some tech checks and whatnot. And as you heard me say, tonight's topic is we are discussing spirituality's role in decolonizing our relationships. Now, last night I did a live, it's over on Instagram, and I did that live talking, just kind of like a little warm up. And I had done that over there, warming folks up to what it is that I'm going to be talking about tonight. It was kind of like a part one warm up. And if you haven't watched that live, then go on over to my Instagram at Sharani M. Patak and make sure that you watch that live, because it kind of primes, like I said, it was a little warm up. And so it gave a warm up to what I'm going to talk about today. And I have to be honest with you, friends, yesterday while I was doing that, I was like stuttering and stumbling and having a really hard time with my words. And it took me, I was just like, okay, I'm scared and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm stuttering, I'm stumbling, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm practicing my fierce authenticity with you, my friends here on social media. And what came to me afterwards is that I was really feeling scared because I'm about to share some unpopular truths and opinions, in particular, in regards to the colonizer and the colonizer's spirituality, aka the religion that they brought and what it did to us as a people, not just us Black, brown, Asian, indigenous bodied people, but also what it also did to white bodies, colonizer bodies as well. And it's really important for us to talk about that because because it just is. That's what I'm going to say for now. I'm going to hold it till we get to that section. And so, yeah, it's really hard. And, one of my mentors who I've learned with and am now certified with, Terry Real, his most recent book is the best-selling Us. I think it's like us had to move from you and me to we or something like that, but us. And I've been working with and training with Terry for the last over 5 years. I recently just got certified in December in his model relational life therapy through the Relational Life Institute. I am certified as a coach in that model, and I absolutely love it. And one of the things that he teaches about is how to speak truth to power and how to do it in a way that it is that it doesn't, you don't fall down to their level. And I'm going to say it that way. That's not how Terry says it, but that's how I'm saying it. You don't fall down to their level. And so what I'm about to do basically is speak truth to power. Power, the power that is the colonizer, right? The colonizer in each and every single one of us, because it doesn't matter what color your body is, you have internalized the colonizer. And that colonizer shows up in your relationship with yourself. It shows up in your romantic relationship. It shows up in your relationships with your family, with your friends, at work. It shows up even in your relationship with the barista at Starbucks, okay? So that is how, just we all have it. It all shows up. And like I said, in yesterday's live, I mentioned a little bit about what that means. So go ahead and check that one out. For today, I want to get to it. Speaking truth to power. Taking a big breath before I speak this unpopular truth, okay? I had to take some notes so that I could stay focused and grounded for you and really provide to you the best information that wanted to come through. And what first came through is the truth that colonizers did not bring God. God does not pillage and plunder. God does not dominate and conquer. And if you recall back 500-600 years ago when colonizers first started colonizing the Western world, it was in the name of God, right? First, there was the whole, well, because they needed food, they needed to grow food. And so they needed, locations where they could grow their food. And also, they also were like, well, we're just going to spread God. We're going to spread religion. This is what we're going to do. Okay. That is not what colonizers did, because God, in their ultimate form, is not about pillaging and plundering. God is not about dominating and conquering. That is not what God is about. To me, when I feel into like, what is God? An idea that I've been sitting with for the past couple of years actually is that God is love. God is love. And I can't recall where it is, but there is a church that on one of my drives, I don't think they have it anymore because it's a drive that I drive pretty often. I think it was up to go see my family when I would go visit with them. And it was even written on one of the church walls. And I loved it because it confirmed an idea that I was already working with, which is that God is love. And so again, the colonizers did not bring God with them when they went and conquered and pillaged and plundered and dominated. And I'm speaking currently in the context of like the last 500 or 600 years. But if you know me and if you've been around my work for a while, you'll know that when I speak about the colonizer and when I speak about supremacy culture, I speak about it not from 500 or 600 years ago, but all the way back to 5,000 or 6,000 years ago with the very first original colonization, which everything inside of me, my brain, my body, my intuition, everything, my wisdom, everything tells me that it goes all the way back to ancient Sumer during the original colonization when Sumer was first conquered and colonized. And so for now, we're talking about it in this more limited perspective, but one of my superpowers and skills and gifts really is to zoom out and look at the bigger, broader picture. And so, yeah, they thought they were doing this in the name of God and in the name of religion and spreading, what was theirs, their religion, their God. And the reality is that those colonizers who came, they had already disconnected. They had already disconnected from themselves and with spirit, a source of something greater than them. And the indigenous peoples whom they did colonize, whether that was people in India or Africa or in the US or anywhere else that they had colonized, there were ancient and indigenous practices that people had of those lands, spiritual practices, practices that connected them with a source of something greater than us, a source of oneness and just something greater than us. And so colonizers had already disconnected with that, and they had already disconnected from source, they had already disconnected from God. And so it's really important that we keep that in context when we think about, okay, why is spirituality like the first thing that we are talking about? As I mentioned in yesterday's live, it really felt like this is what, when I sat with all of the different topics that are related to decolonizing our relationships, the first thing that came through was spirituality is the first thing that we have to address. And as I was reflecting on this topic a little bit more, I was reminded of something that my husband shared with me. We had taken a trip to Fiji. We are both Indo-Fijian, and we both moved here to the US the same year. I was 3, he was 5. It was following a military coup in the 80s. And I think both of us had only been back once prior to going back together. So we had both gone back once when we were single with our families of origin. And then this time we went together as a married couple. And so we got to do some things that we didn't do when we were with our families of origin when we had gone. And he shared with me a story that one of the, I believe it was one of the, nope, it was not a worker at the hotels. I thought it was a hotel worker, but it may have actually been a tour guide who took us on our river cruise. Like we did like this really fun, my parents gifted us a river adventure, and it was really fun. It wasn't a cruise by any means. We took the little like motorboats and we got to be on rafts coming back. I mean, it was really, really cool. And we got to go swim around in this waterfall. It was beautiful. And I think it was when he was speaking to that person that this person said to him, and this is my paraphrase, this is how I'm recalling it, this is not the exact words that were said, but he talked about that they pillaged, they plundered, they raped, they murdered, they dominated, they controlled, they manipulated, they used fear, and then they gave them the Bible and said that you must forgive those who have harmed you if you are to be redeemed, if you are to go to heaven, that you must forgive those who have harmed you. And now, if you heard me just say, well, these are the same people who just raped, pillaged, plundered, murdered, conquered, and all of the other things. And then, of course, colonized, enslaved, um, what do you call it? There's another word that I'm thinking of, exploited. That's the word, exploited the people and exploited the land. And then they said, okay, now here's a Bible and study it. And we want you to be our religion. And oh, by the way, a part of redemption, a part of getting into heaven is that you must forgive those who have harmed you. Okay? Do you hear? And do you feel, I don't know if you feel it, I feel it in my body. The, first of all, the mind fuck that is. And second of all, the like dissonance it creates, the conflict it creates, because these are the same people who abused you and raped, murdered, tortured, all those other good things to you. And now they're telling you that you must forgive in order to be redeemed, in order to get to heaven. And this creates such an amount of dissonance and conflict inside the body of the person who was enslaved or colonized. Such a dissonance. That conflict, that lack of congruence, that knowing that there's something wrong here, there's something not right, but I can't believe and or acknowledge that there is something wrong here because then I won't get into heaven and I won't be redeemed and I'll be damned and all that other good stuff. And that just creates such an internal angst. And me, my background is as a social worker. So I have already been seeing patterns and themes of how people who have been oppressed have higher rates of alcoholism, addiction, violence, um, and of course, disease and premature death, right? Like how people who have been oppressed to have the higher rates and higher incidences of that. And it's also, how do we manage? How do we manage this conflict that we're feeling within us, this dissonance, this there's something not right? And I don't know, friend, if you can relate to this, but I know that there are so many times that like sometimes we just feel an underlying level of angst and we don't know exactly why and we don't know exactly what for and we can't exactly put our finger on it. And yet what we feel is just like that there's something wrong, but we can't name it or put our finger on it. Friends, that is a part of what you are experiencing. And I learned from my mentor, Milagros Phillips, known as the Race Healer. She is our season opener for season 3 of the Fierce Authenticity podcast. You can visit fierceauthenticity.com and go check out our episode. It was a little over a year ago, I think, that we had that conversation and that it came out. And she talks about how these acts not only harm those who had been oppressed and colonized, but it also harms those who had done the harm, who had done the oppressing, who had done the colonizing. And so it's important that we keep that in mind as I share what I'm about to share with you, because the dissonance comes, that disconnect that we feel, that something wrong, that angst that we feel, that relates to us numbing out and disconnecting with ourselves. That disconnection from ourselves, from source, and from each other. That is what that creates. And so, Dr. Gabor Mate, he defines authenticity as our connection to ourself. I recall clearly, I think it's from the Wisdom of Trauma movie, where he says, as humans, we have a need for connection, right? And there's 2 needs that we have for connection with others, which that one's pretty clear, right? And connection with ourselves. And he defines authenticity as the connection with ourselves. And I love that definition of authenticity, especially being that fierce authenticity is what I talk about, what I teach about, and what I share here. And so if we think about the fact that, okay, there's this dissonance, there's this like going on, and we need to like disconnect from that feeling, like shut it down, make it not feel so so that we don't feel so awful all the time. It's gonna lead us to disconnect with ourselves as well. And so in our disconnecting with ourselves, we deny ourselves the knowing that we know what we know. Because so often our bodies our bodies are constantly communicating with us. Let's just say that first of all, our bodies are constantly communicating with us. Our nervous system literally is scanning our environment every like 1/8 or 1/12 of a second, something redonkulous like that. So literally multiple times in 1 second, our nervous system is scanning our environment, mostly to see if there's any threat, right? And our nervous system picks that up before our brain consciously does. And so if there is something that we're feeling, if that the nervous system picks up, but we are disconnected from, we deny that we are feeling some kind of way. We deny that we are feeling what we are feeling. We deny that we know what we know. And this is going to take me on a whole other tangent, but like our intuition, how often do we disconnect from our intuition, from our own inner knowing? Because as children, growing up with people who were disconnected from their own inner knowing, we grow up with the belief that, like, okay, so if I think that something feels not okay, but all the adults around me are saying that it's okay, well, then obviously I'm wrong and I must be the problem. And I am not to be trusted. So obviously I cannot trust myself. And that is a part of what happens in this disconnection from ourselves as a result of the disconnection from source and from remembering that we are all one, we are all interconnected. Me, you, the earth, each other, all of us, we are so interconnected. And we don't remember that because of the disconnection. I mean, don't even get me started. Climate change, these multiple mass murders or mass shootings we've had recently, all the gun violence, all of the child abuse. I mean, the domestic violence. Don't even get me started. There's so many reasons, or there's so many of these symptoms. I'm going to call those symptoms of the disease of our disconnection. And I'm going to say disease as dis-ease of our disconnection. And remember, dis-ease, that feeling right there. And so the other thing this leads us to do is it also leads us to deny our own dreams and our own desires, to deny what messages that we are receiving from a source of something greater than us. You know, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I'm sure you have, but I remember at the last employer I had worked for, one day I was just coming in and I was making my way to the coffee, or maybe I was going to put my stuff away in the fridge. I don't remember, but I was walking down to the break room and there was this person who walked past me in the hall. Couldn't see them. They just walked past me the other way. I was headed this way. They were headed this way. And I just felt like, ugh, like a whole body yuck to that experience, like to the person. I was just like, oh, all of me felt this yuck, a full bodied, completely visceral yuck in that moment. And most of us are taught to deny that feeling of that, ooh, something is not right here. Well, come to find out, she was a new member of our team. Thankfully, she was not in our office. She was located at a different office. And come to find out, that employment for that person ended not so great. It ended not so well. And it went to confirm, oh, yeah, my body felt something. I knew something. And it was then later confirmed, you know, that this person was not a good person and may have borderline been doing some unethical things, you know? And so I'm sure that there are experiences like that where you've had where like you're just like, ooh, something's off here, but then you're like, oh no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, right? This is a part of the symptom of us being disconnected from ourselves, from source, and from each other. Because if that person was operating in their integrity, if they were operating from a space of wholeness, they wouldn't have been giving off that vibe and then operating out of integrity and out of ethics. It just wouldn't have happened. And the other thing that happens when we have that disconnection from ourselves is we begin to misinterpret what is actually danger. And what I mean by this is, again, coming back to how our nervous system literally scans multiple times a second our environment to see if there's any threat. because of what our ancestors experienced that was passed down to us through epigenetics, because of our own personal experiences, because of our collective experiences, hello, like the collective experiences we're currently in, we associate certain things with danger that are no longer danger for us. And so I'll use myself again as an example. When I first started sharing more openly in about my story in my marketing of my businesses, and I was terrified, terrified of being seen, terrified of being known, um, because being seen would get you hurt. That was my personal story. It was also my ancestral story, that being seen could literally get you hurt. And so that's what I mean by misinterpreting. So even though it was safe for me to be seen now in the present day today, my body was still interpreting that there was a threat of life or death danger. So that is the other thing that happens when we disconnect from ourselves and the signals that we are receiving in our brain, our body, and our behavior. So with that, so what do we do about it, right? Well, what we do about it is we begin to cultivate a relationship, cultivate a connection with a source of something greater than us. What I like to call a personal relationship with a higher power of our understanding. I am a 12 stepper, so you might hear some recovery talk come out. I've been in recovery from the effects of the family disease of alcoholism for the last 10 years. It's been over a decade. Oh, I'm going to get emotional because that's the first time I've actually publicly said that out loud, and actually really naming it verbally. What program I'm in. I allude to the fact that I'm in a program, but I don't necessarily always share what and why. And it feels so relevant to this conversation because I said the family disease of alcoholism, right? And if you heard me, if you remember from when we began this conversation, people who have been oppressed have higher rates of alcoholism, addiction, violence, and all that other fun stuff, right? And so this is a legacy of generations of alcoholism and abuse that I come from. And so, one of the things that has been the most helpful to me has been okay, cultivating a relationship with a higher power of my understanding, a God of my understanding. And for you, you may call that the universe or goddess or source or spirit or Gaia or Mama Earth, or however they might even be the ocean, however you relate to a source of something greater than you. Because here's why, friends, when we are not connecting with the divine source of something greater than us, then we start to make other things our higher power, such as our achievements, or how much money we're making, or what neighborhood we live in, what zip code that we live in, what kind of car we're driving, what kind of letters we have after our name. We turn all of those things into our higher power instead of what is rightfully a higher power, a divine source of something greater than us. And so, my friend, that is why it's important for us to first address the topic of spirituality as it relates to decolonizing our relationships. We have to acknowledge the original, what I've been calling the original wound. I mean, several years ago, especially after writing my first book, Fierce Authenticity, Show Up, Be Seen, Get Love, which, by the way, let me just flash it for you. This one, Fierce Authenticity, Show Up, Be Seen, Get Love. This baby just celebrated her 3rd birthday. She's 3.5 now, available at all major online retailers. I do recommend you pick that up because book 2 is coming out soon, and you're going to want to have your solid foundation with book 1 before we get to book 2. And so after writing book 1, I started thinking, like, I really want to know where our original relational wound came from. where was that original relational rupture? Because back when I was a therapist, I am no longer a therapist. And back when I was a practicing therapist, I focused on relationships. And time after time again, it was relational wounding, relational wounding, relational wounding, relational trauma. That is what people came in with. That is what I still work with, just in a different way now through teaching and leading and facilitating and coaching. Um, and so it's really important that we understand what that original relational rupture was, what that original wound was, in order for us to be able to move forward and to start cultivating a relationship again with a source of something greater than us. And I know we're right at the 30-minute mark. And again, like I said, we might go a little bit over because I do have some practices to share with you. And the practices that I want to share with you are so simple, and yet they might require a little bit of effort. Like, I'm not going to lie, the work I do is not, back when I had therapy clients, I would tell them, like, I don't do Band-Aid therapy. And so I don't do Band-Aid coaching. I don't do Band-Aid healing. Like, I don't do that. And so the ways that I work, the ways that I teach, the ways that I hold space, it might be a little bit of a longer path and track. And that's okay, because again, I'm not doing Band-Aid shit. I'm actually going in there, cleaning out the wound. We're like seeing what's really happening, cleaning it out, clearing it out so that it can properly heal, so that we don't continue to replicate these traumas on ourselves and each other and our next generations for them to keep carrying on. All right. And so stick with me, because I have some really easy tips that I want to share with you so that you can begin cultivating this relationship. And actually, this one, I didn't list this on my notes, but it's dropping in right now. So I'm going to drop it in right now. First, I am going to invite you to, if you want to do a comparison and contrast, like, that's okay. And yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing is writing down, like, when you think of God or source or higher power, what are the first set of words that come to mind? Mean, punishing, evil, or is it light, love, happiness, joy, whatever they are. Write down the words that you associate with the words God or spirit or higher power. So that's the first column in the exercise. And then the second part of that first exercise is, okay, evaluating, well, how do these words feel to me? Is this a relationship I want to be in? Do I want to be in a relationship with a God who's punishing and uses guilt and all those other things, which again are not actually God, but the dogma that we were taught to be controlled, manipulated, and dominated with. And so make that first list and then decide, like, well, how does this feel? And is that really who you want to be in relationship with? And then go ahead and make a list of, okay, what are the words that you want to associate with your higher power, with your source, with your spirit, source of a divine something greater than you. Okay. And I imagine those are going to have a different quality. They might be gentler, like soft, gentle, loving, kind, caring, right? So just listing out those qualities is going to be your first exercise. And then after that, really just starting the practices of mindfulness and meditation. And I know this might be like, and let me tell you why, okay? The reason we need to start cultivating these practices is because our nervous system is scanning our environment multiple times every second. And so we need to learn to train ourselves to discern what it is that we are feeling in our body, what it is that we are picking up from the environment around us, and what it is that we are experiencing when we're engaging with other people. Because when we are operating from the colonizer's way, when we're operating in the pattern of domination, manipulation, control, judgment, criticism, and all of these other topics that we're going to work through throughout the year, when you are operating from those places, uh-uh. no bueno. That's when we have the fight battles. That's when, we're getting to our lizard brain and you cannot tell who the sane person is because we gear up for battle. And that is not what we are doing if we want to have decolonized relationships. You can't be in constant battle with each other or yourself or with source. And so, in order to support you with the cultivating practices of mindfulness and meditation, if you follow me on Instagram, and then what you can do is I have a whole series of meditations that I recorded over the summer. I think there's like 6, 7, maybe 8 meditations in there that I had done over the summertime. They're each about anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes long, and you can go and check out that series. Like on Instagram, there's the way where you go to like guides or something series, I don't know, and you go there, and there's several meditation videos that like literally I do the meditation with you. They were also Instagram lives at one point. And if you're visiting me on YouTube, then check out my meditation and mindfulness playlist. I do have a playlist dedicated to meditation and mindfulness. And if you're on Facebook, well, then go find me on Instagram or YouTube to find those playlists and those series to help literally guide you into and through these practices. Also, you can hop on to my newsletter list. Go to fierceauthenticity.com and or click on the get emails button, because every week I share with you tips and tools and practices in order to support you in decolonizing your relationships with spirituality, and with all of the things that we do talk and teach about here. And then here is the like super exciting thing. This weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we begin our 9-month sacred deep dive into what I am calling fierce authenticity unbecoming. Whew. The space where we are unbecoming everything that society has told us to be, everything that colonization and colonialism and all of that conditioning, we are unbecoming all of that to become who God truly created us to be. And we are going to go deep into all of this. It's like a mentorship, healing, coaching container. And there's this beautiful community space that I have for it that's not on Facebook. It is like literally a private community space that has me so excited and so lit up. And you have 2 options to join this weekend. The first one is you can register for your complimentary partial access pass, which gets you into our opening ceremony on Friday evening and into the morning sessions on Saturday and Sunday. And you can also, if you you're like, fuck yes, I'm so ready for this, I feel the full body yes, then apply to go all in. Apply to go all in to Fierce Authenticity Unbecoming and join me for that entire 9 months that are going to change your life. And if you have a couple more minutes, hang around. I really want to tell you about it because the way the program is structured, literally what you receive is 3 healing retreats. So over the course of the 9 months, we meet for 3 virtual retreats. This year it is virtual program. At some point, quite possibly next year, it is no longer going to be a virtual program. It is going to be a live in-person program, where we're going to meet for the entire weekend. Friday we kick off with the opening circle, and then Saturday and Sunday all day. So you have 3 of those, beginning, middle, and end of your 9 months together in the program, for us to do the deep dive. And then every month we have monthly calls for integration. So to continue supporting and integrating that and to do a little bit more of whatever is coming up for you. And then there's office hours in between. And then again, that community that I'm so excited for, that is an online space where you can share messages, come in for support, share videos. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about, is that you can like pop in and share videos. And yeah, for those of you who sign up before we formally begin, you get access to complimentary group coaching calls before we actually begin. So all of the details for that are also available over on fierceauthenticity.com. Click on the button that says apply for unbecoming. So whether you choose to go all in, or whether you're like, well, I want to check it out, see what she's about before signing up, then you can, the complimentary partial access pass information is there as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. I don't see any comments. If you do have any questions or comments, please pop them in. I don't see any, so I don't know if that means that you have none or that the comment section isn't talking to each other. But either way, I'm so grateful that you joined me for this session, this mini pop-up training on spirituality's role in decolonizing our relationships. I do hope to see you inside my communities, whether that be in my email list, getting my emails, and or this weekend with Fierce Authenticity Unbecoming. Again, that's fierceauthenticity.com, and all of the links are there for anything that you might need. So thank you again so much for being with me. I'm just sending you so much love as we end our time together today. Take really good care, and we will be together again soon. I'll keep you posted on when we're meeting again. Actually, I already know the date we're meeting again. We're going to be meeting again on February 11th. And I don't have it in front of me exactly right now. What are we doing on February 11th? February 11th, we're shifting into shame. February 11th, we're talking about shame and shame's role in decolonizing our relationships. So February 11th, mark your calendars, 11 a.m. That's what I've got scheduled here right now. If you sign up to get my emails, you will get all of the reminders and information for that. So again, take really good care and have a wonderful evening.